Okay, so in this video we're going to continue on with sampling, looking at Ableton's simpler instrument, which is, I suppose, a simplified version of sampler, but it also has some pretty sophisticated features of its own, and it's particularly good to use for percussion sounds within a rack, and we'll explore racks in the next video. So let's have a look at simpler. So we can go to our instruments and just drag that up into the workspace here, and here we have our simpler, and at the moment there's no sample in there. So with this record enabled, and if I play some MIDI notes, you can see here that I'm getting MIDI in, but nothing's happening, and also on the side here. So I am doing MIDI, but because there's no samples, nothing happens, no sound. It's very easy to load sounds, and I've got a couple up here which I want to use for this. So let's start with this one. So this is just something I recorded off an old Santana record, and I want to try and make kind of a pitched sounding instrument, but a bit different to before. So let's have a listen. So it's pretty crispy, crackly record sound. Lots of hum and hiss and so it's hard to imagine really how we'd use that, but once you put it into simpler, you can get some pretty interesting results. So let's do that, and we can do it simply by dragging and dropping it into here. So if I play my MIDI notes now, you don't get much going on, and also because it's very quiet. So this was probably recorded a bit too quietly, but that's alright. I don't mind having all that kind of crunchy hiss. So I'm going to use the gain control just to crank it up. And what I want to do is just choose a part of this. We'll look at these different modes through the examples in this video. So this is classic mode. Basically this works by playing the sample back either faster or slower. That's if warp's turned off, so we'll just turn that off for now. This is the normal way that a sampler would work. It allows me to do things like adjust my start and end times. So I'm going to have a little play around and find a start. So that's, this could be a good percussive sound. I'll just quickly single that out and zoom in. That's not what I want for this video though, for this part of it. So I'm looking to have something that's got a little bit of pitch to it. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for. I'm going to leave warping off, because we'll get to that in a minute. And we've looked at gain. I just want to have a look in this mode at setting a loop. So at the moment looping's on. I just turned it off there. So if it's off, the sample will play to the end and then stop, and it's going to play slower on the lower notes that I play. This one's sort of too low to even hear, and this is much higher. If I put looping on, I can create a sustain mode similar to what we did in sampler. And if I change the loop length, it's going to move this side. And if I change this one where it just says loop, that's going to change the start. And you can do some interesting effects here. So I'm going to play a note. I might play a higher note. Now if I change the length, watch what happens. Okay, so there's going to be some interesting things you can do there by changing the length. I'm just going to leave mine at a kind of static length, so if I do want to hold this down, it's going to just keep looping. And I'm going to set up some fades, so you can see that that's what's happening now. We're not going to look at every single parameter here, Really in this one I just wanted to show you how to set the start and end times and the loop settings. And if I just crank this up a little bit, and we could also enhance that a little bit with some effects. So I might chuck a bit of saturation on there. So I'm going for that kind of crackly old sample kind of sound with this one. So I'm going to put a bit of saturator on there and just give it a bit of drive. It's quite a lot of low end in there, so let's just chuck an EQ on there, and we can use this arrow to expand that up here. Get rid of the help window, we don't need that at the moment. So just while we're here, it's worth having a quick look at using filters to kind of isolate things, just to have a listen to what's going on. So I probably don't want anything below maybe 40 Hertz. You can type it in if you want to be exact, or you just do it by listening to what you want. And I chuck my high cut or low pass filter. So if I expand that out, I can also turn this into a bass instrument. Okay, maybe not so useful in this case, but it's worth trying out. Right, so I'm gonna go like that and give it a bit of a, and I might even give it a little boost around just around here. So anyway, you can shape this however you want, and if you wanted to, you know, you could automate the frequency. Or you could do a similar thing in with your filter here in Simpler itself, and then you could maybe use the LFO to modulate that. Let's have a go at that. So let's have a look at the LFO controls. Again, we're not going to look at too much here, but I do want to send an amount of this to my LFO. And I'm going to slow it right down. So this is slowly going to kind of creep up and down. Okay, just to finish this one off, I'm going to give it a bit of release time. Maybe a bit less resonance, I don't want that too. Okay, so there's a sort of interesting instrument, and let's see how we can maybe use that once we create a few other sounds.